there is a silent war unfolding within the minds and spirits of our society. Young and old, rich and poor, black and white. There's an advanced campaign for your soul, for your will, that has a scheduled and fitting place in the program for us all. Mind control is ubiquitous, and they have every demographic covered. Though there seems to be a certain demographic that is being severely targeted, more than others, mainly because there is more of them, and they will be the group that shapes the future. This demographic group is known as the Millennials, the foundation of tomorrow. As being part of what would be known as Generation X, it is very easy for me to see the plague that has attached itself to the millennial group. A plague that has been maliciously fortified and re-engineered to bring this young group to a slow, crawling death. And we are going to analyze the development of this. We will look at the numerous designated groups and archetypes within this culturally created demographic. And of course, as always, we will dig into the history of culture creation and its methods of designing the future by destabilizing the youth through corruption and methodic media conditioning. From the creation of the teenager in the 50s with films like Rebel Without a Cause and the introduction of blue jeans, to the CIA-funded and designated hippie counterculture of the 60s and 70s, the androgynous new wave genre of the 80s, and more. All leading up to today, where they have finalized their plan and designed a generation of individuals programmed to self-destruct. There's a war on millennials, and it's time that this war is put into perspective. To begin, let's do a recap on what the roots of culture creation are and where the manipulation of society originates. For one of the earliest examples, we can start with Plato and his work, The Republic, where he describes a central power elite running a society by using trauma, symbolism, and dramatics in theater and music, similar to the bread and circuses of Rome, which could lead us right to the circus theatrics of the professional con man P.T. Barnum, who introduced culture creation through showmanship and hoaxes. And of course, that would lead us to the father of culture creation and propaganda, Edward Bernays, whom, with the guidance of his uncle Sigmund Freud, single-handedly changed society. Not only did he create public support for war, but he spearheaded marketing and advertisement, the fashion industry, and even introduced women to smoking cigarettes, when he decided it would be effective to hire non-smoking models to pretend they were smoking on street corners, as he took pictures of them and placed them in advertisement ads, inspiring thousands to then create a new, unheard of population of women smokers. This is a small example of culture creation, but it is the beginnings of a process that is far more developed and has advanced over decades to bring us where we are today. Making up for all the disturbed and empty trends we have witnessed over the years. Unfortunately, these trends become people's identities, and when these people form functioning groups, this group becomes what we know as a culture. The ideas of Freud and Bernays would be passed down and absorbed by European intellectuals and thinkers who would then form powerful think tanks that had backing from sources like the London Elite, the American Jewish Committee, Ford, and Rockefeller Foundations. These think tanks were the Frankfurt School, the Brookings Institute, and the Esalen Institute, to name a few. Under the direction and tutelage of the Tavistock Institute, Fabian Society, and the OSS, of course. Though none of this could have been accomplished without the minds and influences of the elite agents Aldous Huxley, Timothy Leary, Alfred Kinsey, Gordon Wasson, Margaret Mead, and Gregory Bateson. Though many others play key roles, These individuals stood out in terms of the slow debilitation of an American society and cultures of the world. Okay, so we are familiar with the powers behind culture creation, and let's remember all forms of mind control, predictive programming, MK Ultra, lesser magic, all these concepts are mere sections within the broad spectrum of culture creation. It aims to create a transient and dualistic New World culture. In order to succeed in this, the elite powers must destroy two things. These are the God-ordained family unit and Christian faith. This is why it is very important to understand that all those who are agnostic, atheist, or non-believers in Christ are convenient agents for the New World agendas. How is this so? Well, these groups and schools of thought are promoted and accepted in the elite plans because they all pose threats to the order and design of the Most High God. And they're aware of this. This cannot be disputed. Let's look at some simple ways these think tanks and financial foundations have joined to slowly destroy the family unit. We could look at a servile public education system, for instance, and kindergarten programs, which render void the influence of parents over their children's learning and development. As Fabian and Frankfurt School member and eugenicist philosopher Bertrand Russell stated, educate children to believe snow is black. Influence of the home is obstructive, and not much can be done unless indoctrination begins before 10 years old. In addition to a servile and binding education system, we find government institutions like social working, counselors, and Planned Parenthood, which replace family guidance and support, making the state into the new family and authority over the child or adolescent. Though social work does have its good influences, especially in regards to abusive family situations, the institute in its roots has more to do with taking from the family than assisting it, from a macro perspective, that is. Though we understand at the micro level, with sincere and loving professionals, good work can be and often is accomplished. Though the most effective weapon in destruction of the family unit takes its place in entertainment, it plays on the carnal modes of youth and young adults, which are in their undeveloped stages. They are vulnerable and immature, easily influenced, emotional, and many times stubborn or overzealous. The worst part is many of these carnal modes don't fully mature or develop into the late 20s. And with the millennial generation, we will see this pushed back even into the 30s. Entertainment creates conflicting cultures, division, which disrupts communication and understanding. Today, worse than ever, we see the confusion of gender roles, degradation of parenthood, manhood, and womanhood, all promoted and learned through the conditioning of entertainment. This is how you create culture. If you want people to hate God, morality, and discipline, to be reckless, addicted to substances and unhealthy behaviors, to not trust people and be obsessed with themselves and create a world of foolish and selfish animals, well, put it in the music. Put it in the movies. Make it pretty. Make it sexy. Make it a victim fighting for justice. Make it everywhere and impossible to escape. As the family unit slowly evaporates, we lose our human ecosystem, which is the family. As an ecosystem, it raises us to learn how to be a human, a healthy, functioning individual and member of society. Within that ecosystem, we learn about the Most High God, obedience, righteousness, and faith in Christ. This is where we gain our moral fabric. This is how a healthy, balanced, and loving person is created. Though as society slowly is engineered to make the family unit vanish, with weaponized culture that proliferates divorce, drug use, mental, physical, and sexual abuse, poverty, homosexuality, and identity confusion. In turn, for lack of a family unit, people seek out a substitute. Lack of confidence in identity renders them a follower, a poser, an egomaniac, or bipolar and promiscuous. So they seek out a new family, which is found in groups, in new identities and archetypes, in social scenes, cults, or even gangs. Sometimes these groups are provided by the state, like masonry, fraternities, and the military. And most of the time, these groups are provided by the media and entertainment. Here we find lost individuals endorsing trends, genres, and styles. Though many join these groups to feel original or to show some type of expression, they in fact are carbon copies, limited to music, dress, and groupthink. In other words, culture creation. Right when you thought you were unique or accepted, though you are essentially a corporate design, a think tank lab rat, a victim of herd behavior and crowd psychology. Bricks in the wall of the popular mind, divided in its designated areas with specific attributes, all in the guise of individuality and the feel of being rare. It is all very fascinating, yet somber. With all that being the case, it should come to no surprise when one discovers the music industry and entertainment agencies are directly connected to government intelligence and corporate interest groups. It's publicly documented that many leading Hollywood production companies are debriefed by the Pentagon and have CIA agents liaisons as part of production staff. Chase Brandon is a good example of one of these liaisons. Films and scripts cannot and will not be approved without proper intelligence management. Viacom, Time Warner, Sony Music Group, Universal Music Group, even Google, all CIA and Pentagon managed. Any source that reaches millions of people with messages gets controlled and compromised, period. From the CIA operative and Frankfurt School guru Theodore Adorno's handling of the Beatles, the beginning of the psychedelic drug culture through Agent Gordon Wasson with the infamous Time Life magazine cover story of 57, which is a Skull and Bones publication under Henry Luce, to Gloria Steinem, the openly admitted CIA operative who spearheaded the controlled feminist movement. Even the Pentagon's hand in productions of simple things like competition shows to breed division within society. Shows like Survivor, Hell's Kitchen, Cupcake Wars, Cutthroat Kitchen, and many, many others. Psychological warfare is usually very subtle and regularly functions without being detected. Jane Fonda, Jennifer Garland, Rachel Ray, all CIA operatives. Even Julia Childs was MI5, surprisingly enough. And these are all well-known facts in private investigation circles. They have all angles covered. Even where things can seem innocent, the elite have controlled it as well. Media as a whole is compromised. So once the family is no longer a source of identity and love, the media is provided as a new parent, a new guide and confidant. It will tell you what to wear, what to like, what to watch, and how to think. It will also provide many categories for every desire and interest group, so every individual can be accommodated. Now, with the addition of the internet, these categories run even deeper and broader and more confusing and addicting. And who partakes in more media and internet time than any demographic? The millennials.